So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ryan Rogers. I am the president and founder of the Culture Shock Community Project. And as I said before, we have 3 fans. As I said before, we are the nonprofit organization that owns this place. Every time you buy something here, it supports Culture Shock. So we appreciate when you do. And we're also the ones that are putting on the 13 Nights of Halloween. Now I do want to point out somebody. I'll use my laser pointer. That scary woman right there is Carly Wright, and she is the one that is in charge of the 13 Nights of Halloween. Could we give her a big round of applause, please? I may be president of the board, but when it comes to 13 Nights, she is my boss. Could you guys turn the music down, please? You can scowl at me, Tyler Rhodes. You can still turn the music down. It's all right. Thank you. All right, we're going to get started. So I came up with this idea as kind of a joke. I was going to do it just as a pre-thing for 13 Nights, and I said, Zombie Survival 101. That seems like it would be a goofy thing to do. And the more I got into it, the more I actually took it really too seriously, as you'll see, and spent a month obsessing about it. I want to show my references first. Obviously, there is no definitive guide to zombie survival yet. But I used 4 books. Now, most of you, if you're zombie fans, are familiar with Max Brooks' Zombie Survival Guide right here. Now, just to be very clear, I don't agree with everything that Max Brooks said. And I disagree with him on a couple things in here, you'll see. Actually, a number of things. I also used, and this is an amazing book, it's called the Zombie Combat Manual. It is amazing. It's by Roger Ma, and it really, a lot more of what's used here is actually from this book. You also have the U.S. Army Zombie Combat Skills Guide there. And there's no author, which is creepy. And then by Matt Mogg, or Mock, it's Mogg. How do you say M-O-G-K? It's a ridiculous name. Everything you ever wanted to know about zombies. And this is more of a history of zombies in film and television, but it also talks a little bit about, common themes and stuff like that. And then some of the stuff that's up here, I just obsessed about and came up with on my own, because I made my own decisions about what the right things to do were here. So we're going to get started in just a second. Actually, not just a second, we're going to get started right now. So first of all, welcome to Zombie Survival 101. It's a very serious class. And we're going to get started. So we're going to be covering tonight. This is an overview, first of all, very, very important. This is 101. This is just the basics of zombie survival. We're not going to go into detail on anything. You can go through the more in-depth course for $49,000 that I'll be teaching. That's really the only way you'll be able to survive the zombie apocalypse is if you pay me $49,000. But we're going to cover zombie basics. We're going to cover key weapons, rules of basic survival, combat techniques, other threats during the apocalypse, short-term survival, long-term survival, and then at the end we'll have a little bit of a discussion. I would ask you, I know that many of you are probably very passionate about this subject. Do me a favor, don't disagree with me in the middle of my presentation. And then I'm going to say my parental advisory one more time. There are graphic images in this presentation, as well as lots of conversations about proper ways to kill things. So you might want to just have your moment to decide whether or not that's what you are willing to let your 4-year-old see. All right. So now we're going to talk about zombies first. What is a zombie? What is not a zombie? Obviously, there is a lot of information out there. There are a lot of films that are called zombie films, or people that are called zombie. Sometimes on Easter, people refer to it as Zombie Jesus Day, because he rose from the dead. As inaccurate. Some people refer to Frankenstein's monster as a zombie because it's reanimated dead tissue. That's inaccurate too. So a zombie, if I point it the right way, first of all, it is the reanimation of dead flesh, a dead body rising from the dead. A zombie is relentlessly aggressive. That's why Frankenstein is not a zombie. They are just intensely aggressive and violent at all times, without question. Zombies also have one and only one thing in mind, which is to eat you. That's all they care about. And there's nothing else, there's no emotional struggle, it's just eating you. And they are also viral agents, which means that they can spread their zombieism to other people. So you can kind of guess that why some of the things are referred to as zombies are not. What aren't zombies? Well, first of all, mutated monsters, so anything in Resident Evil or things like that, those aren't zombies, those are monsters. Rage virus infected, 28 days later, even he specifically says he did not make a zombie film. Those are still living people. They're just infected with a rage virus. Ghosts or ghouls, poltergeists, anything like that, they may look like they're zombies, but they're not. They can even take corporeal form like Pirates of the Caribbean. But Pirates of the Caribbean are not zombies. They're ghosts. And zombies are not sentient. They can't think, they can't communicate, they can't talk to you. Despite Marvel Zombies' brilliant series, that's really not the case. All right, so here's zombie knowledge. Most important thing when you're surviving the zombie apocalypse, this is the most important thing. Zombies are not humans. You may think they're humans, they look like they're humans, you may look in the eye and see a glimmer of life. They are not humans. You can kill them without moral issue whatsoever. They are the product of magic. Now there's a lot of debate over what creates a zombie. Why does a zombie exist? Obviously, in biological terms, even if you brought the dead back to life, they would rot very quickly and they would die probably within a couple weeks. There really wouldn't be a problem. So one has to assume that there's some kind of magical element involved with zombies, which as you think about it is going to be very important as you go forward. One thing that's very important is, why do zombies eat people? A lot of times you'll see a zombie that doesn't have a stomach. They're not metabolizing that. And so there's a lot of debate over what that is. The most interesting theory that I read was that they are metabolizing human essence. And they're actually taking in human essence and living off of human essence. With that being said, in general, zombies will follow the laws of physics. Zombies are not magical in the sense that they're going to fly, and this is again goes to like Resident Evil and stuff like that. They're reanimated dead bodies. That means that if you sever a limb or a muscle, they're not really going to be able to use that muscle anymore. They're going to drag. I went away from the microphone. They're going to drag their leg behind them as best that they can, but the more you damage a zombie, the more a zombie is damaged, period. Zombies are actually a form of macrovirus. If you think about a cancer virus, it takes over living tissue and kills it, and basically, inevitably kills the host body. That's essentially what a zombie does. A zombie doesn't care about sustainability. A zombie will inevitably just eat the planet, and then they won't have anything else to eat, and they'll die just like a cancer virus would. So they're a macrovirus, and they bite, and they spread, and that's what happens. Now, this is really important. I don't know, and everything I read does not tell me where the concept that zombies eat brains comes from. But if you've seen any zombie films, you know they just want to eat you, period. They're not picky about what part of you they eat. They just want your warm, still, vital flesh. That's an important part. Okay, anybody want to take their kids out? Just warning you, right? That's a good law right there. Okay, zombie viruses only affect humans. This is very important. Again, some things make it. If there were zombie viruses that affected animals, you might as well just kill yourself, because you're going to have zombie rats climbing under fences. You're going to have zombie birds coming out of everywhere. And actually, this comes up later into discussion about how long zombies will live if they're left alone without feeding. Because the fact of the matter is, if you have rotting corpses, no matter how magically they're kept alive, my buddies, the ravens, are going to pretty much tear them apart inevitably, and vultures. So they're not going to last forever, and that's important to know. And if a raven eats some zombie flesh, they're not affected by the virus. So that's important to know. Because, man, zombie rattlesnakes, I don't want to think about it. Okay, anybody that watched The Walking Dead, zombies are incurable. They are dead. You can't save them later. There's no zombie cure. Pretty much anything that keeps dead flesh alive, it's either going to go away and they're going to collapse and be dead again, but you're not going to cure a zombie. So if you're bit by a zombie, that's it. All right. Has anybody seen the movie Fido? It's kind of an independent zombie film. That film is BS. It's a great movie, but zombies are not trainable. It is not true that zombies are completely stupid. They can learn. If a zombie couldn't learn, it wouldn't know the difference between a wall and a door. It would just walk into walls and fall over, and it wouldn't know how to walk and kill and think a little bit, remember how to use doorknobs. But at the same time, it's not like an evolutionary knowledge. It's more like instinct. A zombie goes on instinct. They're not trainable to mow your lawn or do your laundry or anything like that. They're just killing machines. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about zombie strengths that you need to know, why zombies are terrifying. And there's one thing I left off, so I'm going to say it first. The most terrifying thing about zombies is not a zombie. It's multiple zombies. A zombie is actually pretty non-scary. You can just walk up with a rock and go, boop, It's the horde that you have to be really scared of. It's the outnumbering that are really scary about zombies. All right, some of the things that are strengths of zombies, they can't feel pain. That's a little debatable, but if they can feel pain, they don't care about the pain because they only have one focus. So you can shoot a zombie as much as you want, and they're going to keep coming. They're incredibly durable. You can chop limbs off, you can put holes in a zombie, and they're still going to keep coming. That is something that you don't get to share with a zombie. You get a hole put in you and you're done. They have an abnormal metabolism, which means they don't have to eat every day like we do. We're going to have to keep eating, we're going to have to keep drinking water because you're going to also see no need for hydration. And they don't have that. So they get to just keep coming and coming. They might get a little more dormant if they haven't eaten for a long time. But in general, they've got a long time to keep running. And that is an especially horrifying thing because you could have a zombie trapped in a box for years and it would still be alive when you opened it up. I don't know why you'd have a zombie in a box though. This is one thing. Imagine if you did one thing, morning, noon, and night, that you did nothing but that one thing. Let's say you wanted to do a triple backflip, and you just practiced all the time and you did it. I guarantee you would be very good at doing triple backflips eventually, because if you just do one thing all the time, you're going to be very good at it. Zombies care about nothing but eating you, and they focus that effort all the time, and at best they wait for the potential to eat you until you come around. So that singular focused goal, which you don't have as a living human, makes them really terrifying. They don't have a social structure. There's no social norms. Zombies don't feel embarrassed if they're naked. They don't bump into each other and go, "I'm sorry, excuse me," or and they have very intense aggression. They come on very strong. They are there is some debate whether zombies are stronger than humans. I would say that any kind of rotting flesh is actually going to be weaker than humans, but if you have that energy all stored up just waiting for that one singular goal, you're going to be particularly terrifying. And they can go forever because, again, they don't have the same kind of metabolism. And, of course, they can turn you into a zombie. You can't turn them back into a human. Now, zombie weaknesses. You know a lot of them. They're dumb. They're clumsy and uncoordinated. I'm going to say this because the next one is, I guess not. There's no such thing as a running zombie. It's just laws of physics. Maybe a little kind of running, like a spurt of energy, but those ones where you see zombies running a long period of time, it was ridiculous. They also lack the ability to have strategic thought. They don't plan. They're not like hiding and like, all right, the guy's gonna come around the corner and we're gonna do this as the plan. And then like you have like the A-team kind of zombie thing and they're like, we're gonna build this thing, and zombie Hannibal's like, everybody plan comes together. They also don't care if they die or get hurt. And so that's they're going to walk into a lot of traps and not even pay attention. They're not even aware that they're walking into traps. So in that sense, they're kind of easy to kill. And they're slow. We already covered that. We got the rotted flesh bones. And there's a little bit to that. Again, some people debate over how strong a zombie's bones or flesh is. I'm going to say that it's probably a little bit softer than humans because it is rotting a little bit. So that chopping through a bone of a human is going to be a little bit harder than chopping through a bone or flesh of a zombie. And they're evolutionarily stunted. They're not going to grow. They're not going to learn. They're not going to get better. You're not going to see good zombies. And lastly, they have questionable senses, which is, okay, this is a great debate. And I want to take a question in the audience here. How many people think that zombies can smell? Raise your hand. All right, that's about where I feel like. Because we know that zombies can see, obviously, and zombies are very acute. They hear, they're listening very closely. They listen for human sounds and go towards it. But if you think about it, and we come up with this later, zombies smell really bad. I mean, they really smell bad. And if you smelled that bad, your oral factories would probably shut down. So I'm going to argue that zombies can't smell. And if you watch The Walking Dead, they hide under cars from zombies, which means the zombies cannot smell them under the cars. If they could, they'd stop and climb underneath. They are only found out if somebody makes a sound, and they stop. So that, to me, I'm going to fall on the side of zombies cannot smell, and I'm going to say no questions until the end, thank you. Zombies cannot smell, and therefore you can hide from them. As long as you are not visible and not audible, you can hide from a zombie. All right. Areas of danger of a zombie, everybody knows this. You got to stay away from the mouth. But one of the things people forget, you have to stay away from the hands. The fingernails can spread the virus. Just if they get blood contact with you in any way, you're in trouble. Which also means you have to really take care of any open wounds. Make sure they're very covered up. And you just want to beware of zombie blood. Definitely, there's a lot of interesting things. They'll take like a chainsaw and they'll get covered with zombie blood. I would not want zombie blood in my mouth. That'll come up later, but you're going to want to be careful of that. That actually sounds a little bit questionable in another way, but don't let a zombie get on top of you. That is the kiss of death. Don't let a zombie get on you, and because you're going to be trapped under there. There's very little you can do. If you go to the aggression, you got to stay away from getting trapped underneath a zombie. All right. These are the directions, in my opinion, after my study, that you have to think about in order of survival. The first is, of course, if you're going to have to be fighting zombies, you're going to really need weapons and tactical gear, which we're going to get to in just a second. After that, you're going to want transportation. We'll also cover that. Basic survival supplies. As much as I'd love to say go there first and get that, you really are going to need the transportation and the weapons first. And long-term survival supplies. We'll cover all that in a little bit. All right, this is the one where it's going to get controversial. All right, the weapons for success. This I actually typed into Google, a zombie survival kit, and this is what they gave me. I critiqued this. My first feeling is guns are a very, very, very bad idea. I know that they look cool in movies and they feel, I was going to say a word, they feel awesome to shoot a zombie and everything. But here's why guns are a bad idea. They require ammo. You're going to have limited ammo. You're going to run out of ammunition eventually, and you're going to have to go into a lot more supply runs into town and put yourself in danger to have to replenish that ammo. They are loud, and zombies are attracted to noise. If you have one zombie in front of you and kill it with a gun, you're going to let every zombie within a mile or two radius know that something is alive and they should come kill it. Anybody that watches Walking Dead knows what a threat that is. Guns are dangerous for other humans. There's a lot of ways to kill a zombie that are focused and that are laser line focused. Guns, you could shoot around. I could be shooting zombies and I'm shooting over here and I end up shooting this poor girl in the face because I'm crazily trying to hit zombies. And especially if you're going with like shotguns or fully automatic rifles and you're just... It's ridiculously dangerous. They're really heavy. They're made of metal. If you haven't carried a gun, they are exceptionally heavy. You don't want to be stuck carrying around a whole bunch of guns, especially if you're on foot. And they require skill to shoot. It may look very easy in a movie where like an 8-year-old picks up a gun and he shoots it. I want you to go to a shooting range if you get a chance, under supervision, and fire a pistol. So if you haven't ever fired a pistol, I want you to feel what the recoil feels like. I guarantee you that an 8-year-old with no training would be knocked down on his butt and then eaten by zombies. So guns are a bad idea, and they also require maintenance. And if you don't know how to maintain a gun, and it takes some training, you won't be able to use the gun very long. It'll get dirty, especially if it's got zombie guts and stuff in it. All right, there are guns for emergencies, and I prepared what I think is a list of good guns to have in case of extreme danger or emergencies. 2 9mm pistols with holsters. It's good to have them on you at all times. It's in a last-minute situation. It's light enough that you can grab them. They also have clips, so you can change them out. 1 long-barrel shotgun, just one, and this is if you're in a caravan. I'm not talking about like you personally have like these things strapped to your back like you're in Grand Theft Auto and they magically appear when you change the stuff. I'm talking about if you're in a little caravan, you're in a group of people, you can have 1 shotgun. Shotgun's good for head blast, and the only real reason I throw a shotgun on here is the easiest ammunition to create on your own. The rest of these, you have to get ammunition. You're really not going to be smelting iron and doing anything. You can take casings of shotguns, fill them with things. If you get enough gunpowder, if you get a firing, you can make, if you have a little bit of expertise, make shotgun ammo. 1 fully automatic rifle in case of extreme emergencies, and 2 long-range rifles with scopes. That is more for marauders. That's not for zombies, because they're really loud. But if you have other thieves or marauders that are coming after you, you're going to want a couple rifles with scopes. And then get as many clips for your handgun rifle as you can get. And go. Thank you. Okay, the dumbest weapon of all, and I scream at the television whenever this is used, the crossbow. He's a cool character, it's a dumb weapon. It's got extremely limited ammo. In fact, it's 1 shot at any one time. It's really hard to reload. A crossbow like this, you have to a lot of times use your foot to pull it back. It's extremely bulky. It requires a lot of skill to hit anything with it. It's this small, and it flies forward, and it is really easy to malfunction. Then we have the other dumbest weapon, and I put this on here because I posted that I was teaching this class, and this girl said, I really want a flamethrower. Here's a good idea. Take something that feels no pain and light it on fire. And it will bring that fire right back to you. Please don't ever use a flamethrower during the zombie apocalypse, or at least if you're in my squad. And I didn't put bazookas on here, but then she also wanted a flamethrower and a bazooka. And I said, you are not in my squad anymore. All right. I did a lot of study. This is one place where Max Brooks and I disagree. Does anybody want to yell out what they think the ideal zombie killing weapon is? Chainsaw? Wow. Machete?
That's the majority. Katana.
A double samurai sword katana blade. If you know anything about katana, they are extraordinarily sharp. You can cut through 3 to 4 normal human beings with 1 stroke with a sharpened katana. They are easy to maintain. You can resharpen them at any point. They're very durable, and I am talking about real, well-made katana, not like ones made in Mexico with forged steel that'll break off in a little bit. A good katana has a good reach. If you think about a katana, there's about 3 extra feet that are going to be added to my hand. And the nice thing is, and we'll get to this later, if you attack somebody, if you attack a zombie with a katana, you may not always kill the brain, but you can very easily cut off a bunch of legs. And I guarantee if you cut off a whole bunch of zombie legs, not only do they fall and they become much less able to kill you, they're going to start tripping the other zombies. And really, and we'll get to this later, your biggest thing when you're surrounded by a zombie horde is to just get away. So, in my opinion, and I state this very clearly, after all my study, I believe this is the safest, best weapon that you can get. The other thing is there's a whole lot of them out there. A lot of the other weapons that they suggested are very hard to get. They're medieval weapons. A lot of times they're Japanese ninja weapons, but they're long. I don't like long weapons either because they're hard to manage. If you've ever tried to take a second bowl and hit a small target, they're very hard to manage. So, in my opinion, you can debate this later, but for the purposes, I am the professor tonight. So, all right, other useful weapons. Those of you that have played any zombie video games will be familiar with much of this stuff. Long-range weapons, one of the things suggested in the zombie combat manual is a sidewalk scraper that's sharpened at the end, because you can take it and cut off heads really easily with it like this, and it's long range. Or an axe or a sledgehammer. Sledgehammers are really heavy and hard to wield, but they will knock down anything that they hit. Mid-range, you got crowbars, machetes. Machete was suggested by a few people. And short range, and you want to definitely have a whole bunch of these anyways, is screwdrivers or picks, like ice picks. Make sure all your tools have grips. So if you have a crowbar, at least wrap cloth around it, if not rubber in some way, because once it gets covered in zombie blood, it'll slip out of your hand, and then you just got open hands. My second thing, and this is a little reference to Lock, Stock, and it's 2 Smoking Barrels, but guns for show, knives for a pro. So just lots and lots of knives. Just really, you should look like, you know that Robert Rodriguez character, Machete, where he's got like you should really look like that, or like V for Vendetta. Just have knives everywhere, because a knife in the last minute, you push through, you kill the brain, pull out, and you can just keep doing that. And if it breaks, you got another one. They're easy to carry, they're about this long, but you have to get close quarters, and that's the bad thing. And if all else fails, try something metal. Wood has a tendency to break. So a wooden baseball bat will probably do okay. It's also, and we'll get to this in a second, really hard to kill anything with a wooden baseball bat, more than you think. Humans are easy to kill. You can get concussions and knock them out and things like that and get brain damage. But to actually destroy a brain, it's hard to do with a wooden baseball bat. All right, and in a pinch, blow something up. I'm not talking about grenade launchers, but I'm not talking about bazookas. But if you get into a bad situation where you got a whole bunch of zombies, you need to be able to throw it far enough, a grenade, and you can knock out a big bunch of zombies in a large area. Grenades are a little bit hard to come by. Does anybody here know where I don't want to ask if you know how to get a grenade. Don't answer that question. I'm not allowed to teach you how to do this under law of, Patriot Act and things like that. But you can make your own explosives. You can make your own dynamite. Heck, they give you some instructions of how to do it in Fight Club. So you can certainly make your own explosives, but they're very volatile and they're very dangerous, and they are a last-ditch effort to save yourself if you're surrounded by a horde of zombies. All right, ideal tactical gear. Again, you're not going to be able to get riot police gear. You're probably not going to be able to get into a military base and get their stuff. So I asked myself the question, you got to protect yourself against scratches. That's one of the biggest things. You got to protect yourself, your arms, your legs, your neck, against scratches, against any kind of small, even a good thick jacket could protect against a bite. If you get the zombie off fast enough, before they can get through the fabric to the skin. You also have to protect the holes in your head from any potential zombie contamination. So after studying a little bit and saying, okay, where can you get that kind of protection very easily? Paintball gear and clothes. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really. There you go. The great thing about this is, first of all, obviously they have camouflage, and as we discussed before, if you believe that zombies can't smell, as long as you're not visible and you can stay in the woods and not visible, you can be skipped over by a zombie. They are made specifically to not let paint get into your mouth and nose. They've got guards against that. And they've got good visibility, again, because when you're playing this game, you need good peripheral vision. So they've got these nice, wide windshields. They've got all this pocket stuff, so you can put clips in it, you can put survival stuff, you can put canteens in it. And they're really well made because, again, they're made to try to minimize the pain of a paintball. So they have a nice thick coat, and you can get it literally if we have a zombie. There's a zombie apocalypse here in Salem. There's at least one, and I think there are two paintball supply stores, and you can also get them like Walmart, things like that. If all else fails and you can't get the rest of this, at least try to get yourself a paintball helmet and face mask, because that is more efficient than anything else you find to cover your face. You can get jackets and thick pants and denim and everything else, but the mask and the headgear, very important. All right, other tactical gear you want to get. Steel-toed boots that come up over your ankle. You want them to have a nice rubber sole, so if you're walking over zombie guts, you don't slip. You want them to have a nice heavy heel because this is really graphic, there are a lot of kids in here. You're going to want to crush zombie skulls with it, with the brunt of your heel. And you want to make sure that it does come over your ankle so you don't twist your ankle. If you know, the quickest way to die in any zombie movie is to trip while looking backwards. If you do that, by the way, I didn't even put that in here. If you look backwards when you run, you deserve to be eaten by a zombie. That's just my opinion. You want to have some of these on hand. If you don't have the masks on, obviously if you're wearing the paintball masks, you're fine. But even just walking around, you probably want to cover your mouth and your nose at all times. It's a silly picture, I know, but you want to get earplugs for the noise of the guns, especially if you're surrounded by other people that are shooting or explosions. But you also want to take those earplugs and shove them up your nose so you don't have to deal with the smell of the dead zombies, which will actually throw you off. A really pungent smell can throw off your equilibrium. It'll throw off everything. So if you can shove something up your nose, preferably something that really won't allow anything in, is really going to help you out. You can make your own wrist guards and shin guards out of leather or metal. That not only is that good for protecting what is basically the most, zombies down on the ground biting at your heels, and zombies, where your arms are out like this, it's really easy to get bit this way, so it protects you there. It's also easy as a weapon if you need to push anything back. Derby girls know if those pads that you get are really good at shoving something back. So that's that right there. All right. This is a great debate, and I actually am going to admit, I read and looked and thought about this for a long time, and I think I do have the ideal transportation for a small group of people, which I'll do at the end here. But this is what I'm going to suggest. The first one is an RV, preferably a semi-mid-range RV if you have a group of people, because there are very few windows. You could secure this door. And in fact, you could build a door right there, so if any zombies got through the front window, you could actually get through. You could cut a hole in the top, so you could have a lookout when you were parked, and that lookout could dive back into the protection of the machine. And you could be in there for a long time. You have supplies. It's easy to carry stuff. The disadvantage of it is it's big, it's bulky, and it's not for all terrain. So if you run into a blocked roadway, you can't drive it off the road as easily. Because of that, the second one I put up here is a good all-terrain SUV. If you own one right now in life, thank you for eating up our gas supply. But there'll be plenty of gas when most of the people are dead. And so, a gas guzzler is really not an issue, except you have to make sure you're carrying enough gas to replenish. But the nice thing here is it can go off-road. You still have cargo space, because we're going to get to a bunch of the stuff that you're going to want to have with you. And it's just better for survival. The third one, I think, is the best. I looked at a lot of cars. The problem with both the SUV and the minivan is that they have a lot of windows. So you're going to have to get into some kind of auto parts store and cover those windows with metal. You don't have to worry about blind spots in general, because you're just going to run over zombies. So that's good. But this gives you a chance to lie down and be fairly secure, and also carry cargo in it. If you're in a car and you have enough cargo, the guns and everything else we're going to do, you're going to have a U-Haul, and that's extremely unwieldy. And this is my opinion, after looking at a lot of vehicles, my opinion for the ultimate small family zombie survival car, if you can get your hands on one, is a monster truck. And I'm serious. Zombies can't, as long as you don't have the steps down, zombies aren't going to be able to climb up into it. They're going to bounce off the wheels and everything. You're just going to be able to drive over zombies. Very off-road. If you put a camper shell in the back, you could sleep on it and sleep in the back. You could carry your cargo either on the top or in the back. But of course, monster trucks are not exactly readily available. So you might want to buy a monster truck now, is what I'm saying. So I'd like to see a lot of monster trucks just driving around Salem soon. All right. Other necessary supplies, I'm not going to read through this, but you kind of basically know what they are. First aid, you want flints for sharpening the swords, you want gas cans, water receptacles, backpacks, especially a hiking backpack, and we'll get to that later. Flashlight, compass. A lot of this is in the Zombie Survival Guide by Max Brooks. Some of it is not. You want a whole bunch of batteries, if you can get batteries. Maps, as many maps as you can get. Definitely a US map of all the roads, if you can get like an almanac or something like that. And if you can get walkie-talkies, they will work. And you want a transistor radio in case people are alive and they're sending out messages. Other items that people don't necessarily think of, and we're going to get this later, but seeds and topsoil. Nobody's going to go for that right away, but if you're going for the long haul, and that's what we're talking about, long-term zombie survival, you're going to eventually need to grow your own food. So you lower how much you go out into the public. You're going to need seeds, and you're going to need topsoil to do that. You're also going to want canned food, books. Books are very important. I know that seems unimportant, but if you're living out like 5-6 years in the zombie apocalypse, you're going to want some good stuff to read. So get some books. A generator, a tent, a computer. That seems ridiculous, right? If you have a generator, and again, I'm going to say there's plenty of fuel, everybody's dead. So while you don't have the internet anymore, computers are very useful in a lot of different ways. If anything else, you can keep a memoir of your horrible zombie experience. Rope and string, basic office supplies, and also paper. You definitely want office supplies because you're going to want to write things down. You're going to need to leave notes. You might need tape. You might need staples. There's a lot. It's going to seem really ridiculous at first, but those are very useful. There's a million things you can do with a paperclip, for example. Containers for food, pots, pans, basic cooking supplies. And again, this sounds ridiculous, lots of salt and pepper because you're probably going to be eating some semi-spoiled meat, and you're going to be eating a lot of bland stuff. You're going to be killing like rodents and things, and you're probably not going to want to eat the rodent just like off of the pick. Just have a little salt and pepper. Just eat a little bag of each. You're fine. Oh, and this sounds a little silly, but musical instruments. Again, kind of the books thing. If you're going for long-term survival, I'm not talking about carrying around a tuba or a grand piano, but a couple guitars, maybe a harmonica, a couple carryable musical items, if you're in a group, is going to make long-term survival a lot more enjoyable. And you are eventually going to want some level of quality of living. And that is because, and I'll get there in a second, you don't want to lose your humanity. If you watch Walking Dead, if you watch any zombie film, the first thing that kills a zombie group is somebody goes crazy and does something stupid, like tries to, just changed a word in my head, attack a female member of the group, or goes out and runs out and gets everybody in trouble. And I know I'm not there yet, but you want to retain your humanity as long as you can because it'll make you so that you want to live and you won't make stupid decisions and you won't have other people making stupid decisions. I know it sounds like I'm pandering to the culture shock crowd, but you definitely, to survive the zombie apocalypse, need a diverse community. You need a doctor. You need somebody that's an engineer that knows how to fix things. You need somebody that has some first aid experience, of course. You need somebody that knows how to grow things. You need people that have like weapons knowledge and things like that. So reach out, get a diverse community going, and that's really important. We already talked about that one. Never let your guard down. You never want to get to a position where you drop your guard and think, oh, we're fine. How many times in a zombie movie has a couple gotten busy? And that is exactly when they get in trouble, because they're like, ooh, this is a safe, nice moment, and I'm gonna get naked and we're all fine. And that's exactly, you never want to let your guard down as much as you possibly can, especially if we're talking short-term survival. Focus on defense, not offense. I'll get to this again later, but don't be a hero. Get away from the zombies. Knock any down that are coming after you and just get away from them. Don't go out and feel, if you see a zombie way off in the distance, don't feel like you have to kill that one zombie. There's 100 more where that came from. So just stay away from them as much as you can. Be flexible. Don't have a rigid plan. Change your plan all the time. Be creative. This again goes back to the humanity issue. Make art. Paint. Make music. Write poetry. Sing songs. Keep your humanity. Keep your spirits up. Because if you get depressed, if you get down, you're going to start getting tired, you're going to start making mistakes. That's when you go. Practice and exercise. Keep your cardio up. Don't sit around, especially if you feel secure. Don't get lethargic. But also keep a little bit in the tank in case you get attacked. But practice your and we'll get there, practice your moves, practice your attacks. Always have an escape route. This is very important. Whenever you're camping, always have a plan B and a plan C escape route. If you're attacked by zombies from this side, I go this way. If you're attacked by zombies on this side, I go this way. Avoid cities at all costs unless you must go into a city. They're obviously the most populated areas. They're also the most populated by zombies. And you're going to want to stick to rural areas. You're going to want to stick to places that you can look out and you can see a zombie coming from a long way away. It's also more spread out. There are fewer people around. Now, obviously, there are hordes that go through areas, but you have a better chance. And stay on highways. They're often like 4 or 5 lanes wide in both directions. You can most likely get where you're deciding to go, and we'll get to the ultimate, in my opinion, long-term survival location in a second. Expect for the best. Be nice, but always know that any person you meet could be a horrible person that's trying to rob you, kill you, and do awful things to you. Which kind of seems like a good philosophy of life in general. Not really. No, it doesn't. All right. Okay. How do you kill a zombie? Say it. I don't know. I was asking. You destroy the brain. It's pretty simple, right? No, it's not. The skull is actually extremely resilient for the reasons that we don't want to die as normal human beings. So destroying a zombie brain, let's assume that a zombie brain, even if it is not fully formed, it's still a pretty good receptacle of that brain that you have to destroy. This is going to get a little graphic for a second, but the most susceptible to attack parts of the skull is this area right here. It's the area, the soft part right here next to above your ear. If you're going to go for a knife, if you have a small, if you have a sword or if you have an axe, it doesn't really matter. You're fine. It doesn't matter where you hit a zombie on the head. But if you're dealing with a knife or an ice pick, if you hit up here, you're just going to bounce off, and then you have a zombie in your face. So what you really want is to hit right there, right above the ear, twist, so you can pull out easily, and pull out. Also, very susceptible areas are the eyes and nose. As long as you have a long enough reach, there's very little protecting us behind to go into the brain there, so straight through an eye. I'm sorry, kids. And a very good entry point is right under the chin, right here. If you have a long spear, even if you make it yourself, a piece of wood, if you can come up from underneath that and push it up far enough, you can just keep next zombie and next zombie and just shish kebab. It's a very soft area that's unprotected. You want to stay away from this main area right here. That is very well protected unless it's been damaged in some way. All right, rules for zombie combat. Zombies are slow and they lack reaction speed completely. So if you have a zombie coming at you, you have the ability to move much more quickly than a zombie does. So one thing you can do, and we'll get to this in a second, if a zombie is coming at you forward, you can very quickly step to the side. They don't have that complex thought to be able to go, oh, you're over here now. They kind of, it's like when you freak your cat out. Your cat has to think about what's happening for a second. Like, all right, that's what's going on. That's your best defense against a zombie, is moving quickly. Be efficient, move fast, move good. Don't get emotional. You know those crazy people where they're like, ah! It's a stupid thing to do. Just finish the job, move on to the next. That's when they're going crazy and they always get attacked from behind, or they get tired because they killed. Stupid. Okay, and the weapons use a sword or long-wade weapon first, knife second because they're pretty close, gun only if extremely necessary, and an explosive if in dire need. All right. There is a thing that police know. Anybody that has law enforcement experience or military experience knows the term fatal funnel. And it's an area in front of you that is the most dangerous part because it's the part where the assailant can see the most and has direct access to you. So for a zombie, the first thing you want to do, can I get a volunteer? Come on. All right. Don't really come at me because I'll actually have to hurt you, but just come at me slowly. So I'm going to rotate around him like this, and he's going to not, because he has such a slow reaction speed, if I have a knife, boom, he's dead, we're gone, I can move on to the next one. If I stay out of his zone, one of the things you'll see in a lot of zombie films, step back a little bit, come at me, is they're coming like this. Well, look at, he's got the same arm length as I do. See, he's got a hold of me, and in his case, he's taller than I am, so go ahead, you can grab me. I might be able to get a little bit in, but he's probably coming pretty hard, and he's going to get his hands around my neck. He could potentially scratch me. That is the last place you want to be. So come at me again. So if I go down, boom, like that. Wait, no, come on, stay up here. And I won't actually do it. All right. So let's say I don't have my knife with me, and my gun is over there, and I'm really in trouble. I have no weapons at all. Same basic principle. So come at me. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to grab him by the neck like this. I'm going to trip him with this leg, push him down to the ground, and then with the foot. And you're dead. And you're dead. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. So remember, stay out of the fatal funnel. Very important. Don't get surrounded. This guy is dead now. Yeah, don't be a hero. We'll get to it in a little bit, but do not get surrounded. Don't get a wall behind you. Always have an escape route. This guy is gone. He's really gone. Look, they're already eating his legs. Okay, focus on stopping and then on killing. Like I said, cut off legs, cut off at the torso. And remember, you can remove a head and the head stays alive. You have to destroy the brain. So, but how scary is a head? You can pick it up and it'd be like, stupid zombie. You do a little zombie puppet show. Once the head's on the ground, the body goes limp. There's not, you've gotten away from that zombie. You're fine. It may live. You didn't kill it, but you got away from it, and that's the main point. And last but not least, run. Just run. You don't have to be like Rambo. You don't have to be the guy that survives. Just run. Get away from it. Get out of danger. There's a million zombies. You're not going to kill them all. Don't go trying to be the assailant. Run away. Just run away. Oh, shoot, I gave it away. That was supposed to fade in. So this is the last part of my presentation, and then we're going to have a little discussion or questions at the end. I did a lot of study, and there is a site online, and I wanted to give you the address, and I don't have it, but where they do contests to create the best zombie survival location. And I think the winner last year was on a boat that was going up and down a river. And the idea was that you could build, you could grow horticulture, and you could stop at cities along the way because they're I think it's set up and down the Mississippi River. And if it was zombie infested, you just move to the next port. There's no problem. In my opinion, I think it's dumb because they don't take into account marauders and thieves that could get on. So I am suggesting, and if you haven't ever been here before, you might think this is a weird location, but I'm going to suggest the best place to survive, to wait out the zombie apocalypse is at the Grand Canyon, and I'll explain in a second. The real question is, how long does the zombie apocalypse last? Do they live forever? If they don't eat, Do zombies always live, or do they at some point stop being able to metabolize and collapse out of starvation? Or do they get picked apart by crows? I'm going to anticipate that a zombie apocalypse, if they are not fed, will last at max 10 years. 5 to 10 years. So you have to survive for 5 to 10 years. How do you survive for 5 to 10 years sustainably? I come from Arizona, so I can attest to all the things I'm about to say. The Grand Canyon has these massive walls. You are very protected. You're not going to get attacked by zombies. And even though it's in Arizona, it's in northern Arizona, in the Rocky Mountains. And it is fairly mild in temperature. It does get cold in the winter, and it does have a heat wave, but you've got the Colorado River that runs right down the middle, and you have access to clean water, and it is actually very survivable temperatures in both directions. It does snow on the north side of the Grand Canyon, but often the snow and the cold weather does not get all the way down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. In fact, my father ran from the north rim to the south rim of the Grand Canyon during the winter, and the best place to be was actually down at the bottom. The Grand Canyon is great. As I said, the Colorado River goes right through it. There's a lot of really fertile land right around there. This path right here. That is how you get down into the Grand Canyon. That long, winding path. That is going to take a zombie a good 14 years to get down, and more than likely they're not going to make switchbacks. They're going to walk off the edge of the cliff and die at the bottom of it. And there are lots of horses that are trained to go up and down those hills, and the horses can do that almost naturally. So if you can get your hands on a horse, you can get down to the Grand Canyon with a nice pack of supplies, all your seeds, all your the things you're going to need, your generator, pretty easily. And at the bottom of the Grand Canyon is that. That is your home for the next decade. I would live there now. I just turned into Christopher Walken for a second. What is watch? Okay, I'm not going to say the rest. This is actually the bottom of the Havasupai Canyon, which is the northern part of the Grand Canyon. It's considered connected to, but a little bit differently. These are called the Havasupai Falls. There is a great campground right down here. There's lots of trees. It's very fertile. You can grow lots of crops down there. First of all, you're very far away from the city. The closest city is Flagstaff, Arizona, and it is about 4 hours south. And it's reasonably small. You'd have to kill a lot of college kid zombies, but you could probably clear the city pretty easily, and then you have access to all the supplies that are up there. There's also a bunch of little towns in that area within 2 hours, but below that is about 4 hours of desert. So any Phoenician zombies that are coming this direction are going to dry out and collapse in the desert. Even if they're alive, they're not going to get very far, and they're going to be stuck in the desert. So that's one of the reasons. Very survivable weather, we talked about that, just talked about the desert. Very easy vantage point. I showed you the switchbacks. As long as you keep lookouts, you can see anybody that's coming down. You want to make sure you're covered from sniper fire. Like, I got a sniper right up here. You want to watch out for sniper fire. But in general, you're going to be able to see any marauders that are going to come into your camp. And I'm anticipating this is about 10 to 20,000 people. This could be a point where a whole bunch of people could gather and survive out the zombie apocalypse together, have a certain civilization, some laws, they keep things clean. I'm not going to get into how you run that civilization. That's in my advanced course. Fertile grounds for farming, I said, and it has been populated by Native Americans for centuries. They've lived there in this area for a long, long time and thrived. And so it's already a proven place that you can live very happily. And there's easy access to Colorado River, shade, protection, what have you. And here's a bunch of stuff that you can do to prepare right now. Start running. Every day, start running. You gotta start preparedness right now, just run. You gotta be able to run a lot. You've seen Zombieland, cardio is important. Work your upper body, lift weights, do push-ups. You're gonna need to carry stuff. You might need to push a zombie off of you. So you really wanna get some upper body strength. You're also shoving things into brains is not easy. Learn to farm, do a little bit of gardening in your backyard, learn to grow a tomato, learn to grow a potato if you can, learn to grow a chicken, I'm just kidding. Learn to farm, definitely. For the kids, practice wielding swords. For you, definitely. With wooden swords, thank you, so I don't get sued. But also spears and other melee tools. Take a karate class. Learn some hand-to-hand combat skills. Learn basic survival. Befriend a Boy Scout, which sounds creepier than I mean it to. Befriend a Scoutmaster. There, that's slightly better. Learn first aid. You should know this anyway. CPR and first aid, so you can help anybody that gets hurt. Stockpile supplies. Go buy the paintball stuff right now. I'm not going to suggest you create an armory for yourself, but definitely go buy your knives and your swords so you have them available and you can just jump in a car and go. Visit a shooting range. We already talked about that. Learn to shoot. Map your short and long-term. Get right now. Get a map out. Go to Google Maps and figure out exactly what it would take to get where you need to go. Have an emergency location. If you've got your group, and that's the next one, build your zombie survival team. If you've got your group that you know who's going to survive with you, have a place you're going to meet. Say, we're going to meet out in Kaiser at this school, and know where you're going to go so nobody's confused when the zombie apocalypse comes. And don't worry, when you turn into a zombie, you forget that. So, learn to fly. I know that sounds weird, but if you can even learn the basics of flying, even if you learn online, practice with like an online flight simulator, yeah, it might come in handy. You never know. You never know when you might need to, instead of having to take the long, arduous journey to the Grand Canyon, which I argue is the best place to survive, from Salem, which is probably a 27-hour trip from here. You could just fly there. There's a small airport in Flagstaff. You could land, and then you only have 4 hours to go. Learn how to fix a car. You should know how to do that anyways. Learn how to siphon gas. Get your Boy Scout skills, which I already talked about. Quit smoking. Okay, that sounds weird, right? Just quit smoking. I don't even mean it for zombie survival. You should just do it. But also, the cardio, you're going to not want to be and then you're zombie meat, for sure. The smokers are zombie meats. And really, I put this, if anybody knows what the Spartan race is, it's kind of like the Warrior Dash, but it's harder. It's an obstacle course. If you can successfully run the Spartan Dash, or the Spartan race, you are probably in good enough shape to survive the zombie apocalypse. And last but not least, learn parkour. Does anybody know what parkour is? So it's that crazy stuff where you jump up the walls and stuff. Can you imagine how useful that would be in a zombie apocalypse? You get cornered and you'd be like, do a backflip. So learn parkour. Under trained supervision, don't just run up walls, because that is dangerous and stupid. Okay, and I already showed you the books that I used for doing this, and so I think the next one is, we're going to open up for discussion. First of all, guys, thank you very much. I hope this wasn't too boring. I hope I was entertained you and informed you. Oh, thank you. Tyler's been waiting for 45 minutes to yell something at me. So Tyler, you get to go first.
So, I know Hollywood doesn't always do it justice, but you said that they can't smell.
Yes.
In Walking Dead, one of the very first episodes, they gutted a guy, wore his guts, walked around, and then when the rain came and washed the body parts off of them, they would be able to be seen and attacked.
There is some debate that they can see heat because they do not have heat, so they can feel the differential between a warm body and a cold body. So that guts helped disguise them from that heat sense as opposed to smell. Because if you follow the continuity of that show, they have hidden many times from zombies and not been able to be found just by hiding under something.
So if it's a heat thing, then they get cold rain. How are they then seen if they're now wet and cold?
You don't get that cold in rain.
Yeah. You don't get that much thermal protection from body parts.
I don't remember the last time I stood around covered in body parts, but I am going to say that we don't have the scientific evidence to support your claim on that. You may have secret things you do on Friday night that I don't know about, and if you do, good for you, but I don't want to know about it. Any other questions or discussion points? Yes?
So,
When, not if.
They wipe out the whole human race, so it's only zombies. Can zombies eat other zombies?
Zombies do not eat other zombies because zombies, again, we started this off, zombies eat the essence of the human essence, and so once that is no longer there, it's of no use to them. Yes?
Professor Ryan, during the zombie apocalypse, is it worth the resources you have to do to keep a smaller, weaker person with you? So in case of being overrun, you could use them as a...
See, for a second I thought you were going to a sweet place, and then you went to a horrible place. Okay, so what he asked me is it good to, I'm going to tell you the two parts of the question. Is it good to keep a weaker person with you for those resources? And that seems like, oh, that's a very nice question. So you can throw them at zombies as bait if you get in trouble. Okay, I guess the question is also, could you keep babies for the same reason? Like, no babies! Baby grenades. Have like 4 of them on your back. I'm going to argue that I think you'll find in any zombie film that when someone loses their sense of humanity, when they lose their sense of community and their connection to what makes them human, they begin a slippery slope that quickly leads to them being eaten or being killed by the rest of the group. So my suggestion is, forgetting the throwing them at zombies as bait thing, that it is important, yes, for a period of time. There's a line that I think you can at some point say, okay, now we're putting everybody at risk because we're taking care of this one person. But there is certainly really working to keep your humanity is very important. Is that? Yes? Yell at me, I can't hear you. If I were a zombie, would I try to eat you first, is the question. I would eat Sean first because he's so juicy and tender. Yeah.
Animals are incapable of becoming zombies.
Yes.
But what if it's a really clever monkey?
I refuse to consider zombie monkeys. It's horrifying. No, I think we're not genetically connected enough. Usually human-bound viruses affect humans. I don't know if monkeys do get colds. I was going to say monkeys don't get colds, but I don't know if that's true or not. All right, guys, I'm going to cut it off right now. Thank you for the 12 of you that stayed to try to make me look foolish.